Hello and welcome back to the universe of God, where we are discovering it and then we're uncovering it. This is part 4 of the series, The Days of Noah, where we are discovering the past so we can understand the present. Thank you for tuning in and going the distance with me as we go deeper into the days of Noah. And this is a series that is going to have several more videos. I'll say a few more videos. As we begin to kind of break this down even more to paint and illustrate a picture for you of what the days of Noah were like. We need to understand these days a little differently. And when we watch Ancient Aliens and, all the shows out today that are really unearthing the days of old and these ancient figures of renown, we have texts or we have information that says, hundreds of thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, just way far back in time, it places a lot of these entities on the scene of our planet. However, in the biblical text, in Genesis, God is telling us that this was happening in the days of Adam, in the days of, this started taking place in the days of Adam. This was happening, in the days of Noah. And matter of fact, this was happening and it was what caused the determination for a flooding of all the earth's inhabitants to wipe out everything that had become corrupt, evil, and genetically modified, hybridized to a point where there was no original strain of DNA in anybody. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And so God held a family for himself. He held someone for himself that was uncorrupted, untainted, not transhumanized, not genetically altered and modified in some way, and he chose this man and he chose his family. And I'm inclined to believe he chose this family because they were related to this man. And if you want to procreate and create a new world, you're going to need, more than one person. So anyhow, he clearly loved Noah enough to spare even his family, okay? Because when we come out of the flood, we see some things happening that make you question how some of these people made it into the new world, right? But hey, judge not, right? Why? Because God can take what was meant for evil and turn it around for your good. And secondly, God can redeem anybody, anything he can redeem. It's within his power, of course. So moving on in part 4, we're going to begin to discuss more about these gods of the nation in the days of Noah. And so there's a book called When Giants Were Upon the Earth by someone named Brian Godawa. And some of the information I'm going to be pulling from his book too, that really just theologically and intricately delves into this subject. So we're talking about this forbidden knowledge, that came across to a primitive race of people, and information that, either was clearly too destructive for them to learn. I don't know, whether it was because they were like kids, primitive, or because it wasn't for them because of the fact that they were kicked out of the garden of God, the Garden of Eden, where they could no longer eat from the tree of life lest they live forever and be stuck in the beast system, so to speak, in bodies that are not glorified, that are going to die and get sick and decay and give problems, and, a world that was going to experience, good and bad and and so forth through eating of this tree of knowledge and good and evil. They're going to discover God. They're going to discover the way, the truth, and the life, or the light. But they're going to discover it from eating from the tree of duality, from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and not just good. And I'm here to tell you today, after eating from this tree for years, I prefer the flavor of the tree of life. Save yourself some trouble. But no one escapes out of this world without eating from this tree, because we live in a world where this is the world's system, so to speak. The Bible says we're in the world, but we're not of the world, okay? So even though this is the system in place here, a system mimicking the days of Noah, the only thing is we haven't seen the manifestation the way the days of Noah had experienced it. But if you pay attention to the news, if you pay attention to what's going on currently in our world, we could be experiencing those things in the very near future. We could be experiencing encounters of the third kind, right? And people already are. And not everybody is lying. That's just not how that goes. But we're talking about a world today where transhumanism is the hype. We have Elon Musk, who has created Neuralink. My son just shared this with me. Some microscopic chip that's going to go in the brain, right? And it's going to fix things. Impressive technology, but transhuman is the name of the game. And I want to be transformed by the renewing of my mind, because I want to have the mind of Christ. I don't want to have the mind of the Neuralink. I don't want to be transformed through technology's neurological, microchip. That's not my heart's desire. It could be for some. They want to experience it. They want to play with these things. And they want to learn through the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Okay? If I'm a kid and you showed me candy, I'm tempted. I want it. I have to try it. But sometimes, you got to grow up and you have to realize that everything is not a game. And, this is not child's play by any means. You are altering a creation that was made in the image and likeness of God. So we need to be careful and not be so eager to jump into transforming and conforming our own bodies into a technological type of image. So, we have transhumanism. We have, just a longing to become superhuman. We want to be superheroes. We want to be superhuman. We want to defy the odds. We want to shake our fist almost in pride and say, you know what? I don't need God. Okay. I just need anything and anyone who can give me what I want or who can make me better. However, why get the counterfeit if you can have the real thing? Now, some of us want a counterfeit knockoff Coach purse or Louis Vuitton, and some of us prefer the real thing because we realize that the counterfeit does not hold the quality, okay, and the level of customization that goes into the real thing. The point is, especially as you grow up, you prefer quality over something that's just cheap. You'd rather spend the extra money to have something that's better, that's going to last. So my point is, it's like genetically modified food. Why eat the counterfeit when you can have the real thing? Why do I want something that doesn't have a seed in it? Just so, I can have the convenience of not having to deal with a seed when I'm eating the fruit. I'd rather have the real thing with 100% nutritional value when it's ripe and ready, that's actually going to feed, heal, and strengthen my body and make me, more superhuman through nature, right? Through the natural things God has given us to make us even stronger. And my point here is, I prefer the real thing over the counterfeit. The counterfeit does not have the same sustenance as the real thing. You want to give me a synthetic drug when there is a natural herb that grew out of the earth that I came from, that's going to heal me with no side effects and is going to help me. And matter of fact, it's so amazing that it's interconnected. Its healing is interconnected. It's not just going to heal the one thing, but it's going to bless and heal and transform and upgrade other parts of my body, whether it be at the cellular level or, or not. Either way, it's going to help me, right? Because it's the real thing. It has all the nutrients, it has everything. And it comes with no side effects. But if you give me the synthetic thing, the counterfeit, I start to have problems because my system wasn't designed for the counterfeit. It wasn't designed for the synthetic. So in the days of Noah here, we see that there is an encounter with something that is not original, or it's like a synthetic. It's not the real thing. It's not producing the same result. It's not having the effect that it should have. It's decaying the world around them in the days of Noah, much like what we see today. So, as we study the days of Noah and its worldwide association with the sons of God, or the angelic entities and forces that interacted more openly with men of ancient times, we will also eventually try to understand why this forbidden knowledge taught to humans in pre-flood days was, forbidden indeed. We're going to try to understand that, but what I've shared so far should already be helping you to understand a little bit. So, the scriptures and extra biblical texts on the fallen angels, the Nephilim giants, and the men of renown are going to help us to understand a little bit more about what was going on in the days of Noah. First Enoch chapter 18, verse 14 through 15, the angel said to me, this place is the ultimate end of heaven and earth. It is the prison house for the stars and the powers of... They are the ones which have transgressed the commandments of God. In 3 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 4 through 5 says, thou didst destroy those who aforetime did iniquity, among whom were giants, trusting in their strength and boldness, bringing upon them a boundless flood of water. Thou didst burn up with fire and brimstone the men of Sodom, workers of arrogance, who had become known all for their crimes, and didst make them an example to those who should come after. Going on with Jubilees chapter 20 verse 4 through 5, let them not take to themselves wives from the daughters of Canaan, for the seed of Canaan will be rooted out of the land. And he told them of the judgment of the giants and the judgment of the Sodomites, how they have been judged on account of their wickedness, and had died on account of their fornication and uncleanness and mutual corruption through fornication. That means through the mixing, through sexual interaction and mixing and creating this race of giants. Okay, they were judged. And so it mentions Sodom, okay? In the Maccabees, it said, thou didst burn up with fire and brimstone the men of Sodom, workers of arrogance, and made them an example for those who should come after. And in the Jubilees, it's mentioning Sodomites again. So, and this is post-flood that it's referring to. However, we are going to start to see a connection. And we're going to come back in part 5 where we began to examine the connection with these scriptures that are warning us of a time before the days of Noah, what was taking place in the days of Noah and even shortly thereafter, and the connections we can make to what is ultimately going to be your demise and what is ultimately going to, be your blessing, save you, help you. And so it touched on, the Sodomites, and we're going to come back in part 5 and discuss this more in detail. Thanks for tuning in to part 4. I'll see you in part 5. Have a great day. God